Hey, what's up, guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I passed the test by quitting the course, okay? Now, my videos are very psychological a lot of times. I try to give you guys perceptions, different perceptions, all right? And different ways of looking at things. Because for a long time, with things being done a certain way, many of us have had to accept other people's perceptions and have other people form our perceptions, okay? And not give us alternative perceptions, all right? And that is not good. That hasn't been good for a lot of you guys, for some of you guys, okay? But some of you can be a lot in comparison to the population, okay? But it still may be a small number in comparison to the population, but still a considerable number, okay? So part of my job is to bring these perceptions out, okay? So for some of you who can identify with these perceptions and can grasp these perceptions and see these perceptions, okay, then you can look in the mirror, ask yourself how much they apply to you, and possibly it may change you for the better, okay, in so many ways, and bring out the best qualities and aspects of yourself, okay, where you were just not able to find it in a world that forced certain perceptions onto you, okay? And then you, therefore, you were judging yourself and grading yourself by those criterias. And perhaps if you didn't feel like you measure up to those perceptions, okay, then, measured up to those perceptions and those ideas and ways of thinking and ways of looking at things, then it makes it, you know what I mean? Like I said, it makes you perhaps look at yourself differently. And sometimes that might not be the best way for you to look at yourself, okay? And your situation and who you are, okay? It's all about, a lot of my videos is all about helping specific people find themselves, okay? Who they truly are, okay? And what they truly are, and what they truly are, all right? It's going to be a bear with me video, maybe kind of long. And when I say long, that's anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes maybe, you know what I mean? Possibly more, all right? And I'll be having to get I'll be having to lay the foundation like this in videos because my videos are very perceptual. So I have to lay a foundation so you can see things a certain way, so you can see the angle I'm coming from, okay? And hopefully fully understand me. Then you can always go back, look at the videos over again, because I normally don't have formats, so I'll just kind of say what comes through, and it's up to you to piece it all together the way that you need to piece it together, okay? So I could jump around and things like that or whatever, you know. All right. Now, how did I pass the test by quitting the course, okay? Let's talk about perceptions, all right? For one, in our society, right, many of you always been taught to not quit something. And first of all, you know how I always tell you about words, and words are spells, okay? I don't like that word quit something because it has a negative connotation. It makes you look like you are incapable, or were incapable, or were not strong enough to see something through. But I would challenge the word quit with just being strong enough to walk away from something that does not serve you, okay? Now, there's times in life, and it is part of some of you guys' journey to learn how to see through something that may be a little challenging at times, okay? But that's only if it's something that's truly a part of who you are and a part of your journey and a part of what you're supposed to be doing. But see, sometimes we like to think that everything that we are supposed to be doing is supposed to become easy, okay? And that the Most High is not going to challenge us and everything comes easy. And so you got some people who excel at something, right? And because it comes easy to them, see, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily successful on a spirit level if they haven't been challenged a little bit, okay? You have to be challenged along your true path, but it is okay to walk away from something that is not in accordance with your true path. And you have to be spiritually mature enough to identify that, okay? But like I said, I'm always talking about perception. So now that's a different way of looking at quitting something. You see what I mean? A lot of us put stress on ourselves and have put stress on ourselves and have beat ourselves up because we were trying to stick out something or do something that we really didn't want to do, that really wasn't a part of us, that really wasn't a part of our path, that really wasn't a part of our true self and what we're really here to do, okay? And then we'll beat ourselves up because in society, what was dominant society, the perception was always given to you that you don't supposed to quit. You don't supposed to quit. So what the setup was for you in the first place is a lot of you have been put into situations and had to do things that on a certain level they know was not conducive to you in the first place. Then teaching you that quitting is bad in order to manipulate you into trying to stick out something that wasn't for you, in turn stressing you out and bringing you down in different types of ways. Some of you have been dealing with that since you was a child, okay? I'm gonna get into perception again from this angle. Perception. There's people who would probably say, I can imagine, right, that when I tell you why I do something or why I did something or why I made a certain decision that I made, if I give you my perception and my reason of why I did it, there will still be people out there, I'm sure, that will say, and I have to say it like this because this is probably how some of these people would say it. Nah, no, he just doing this because, or he just did this because. And even though I may tell you why I'm doing something and my perception, if it's not the perception that they want you to have or that they have or that they want to have or that they taught to have, then they'll try to put their reasoning off onto you. So I'm gonna give an example of that. Matter of fact, I'll get right into the situation, okay, the learning experience, okay, or the test. All right, so I go to an electrician course, all right, and the first day, this has nothing to do with the course. Anybody that had anything to do with the course, it was great people, and everything. This is a learning video. This is a psychological video that some of you need to hear, that many of you need to hear, that almost everybody needs to hear. but some of you really need to hear this, and it will help change you or evolve you or bring you into who you are meant to be. Okay, so taking the course, the first couple days is we're doing nothing that has to do with electrician, like electrical work. Okay, really the first 3 days that I went, you know what I mean. So I never did anything that actually had to do with electrical work. Okay, and so we're going over a lot of safety stuff, and I'm not saying that this stuff is not necessary. I'm just hear me out, follow me. All right, we're going over all this safety stuff and all that type of stuff. On the third day, we're doing all this math, right? And I'm not talking. And now we know that safety is necessary in any type of work that you're doing, especially something like electrical work. And we know that some form of math is required as far as knowing how to read a ruler, at least. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much it. Okay. Now, two challenges, okay, that I already had identified was, I'm sitting here bored as I don't know what, out of my mind, which I have I'm not gonna call it a problem. The medical field would probably diagnose me ADHD, you know what I mean? Maybe even slightly autistic and things like that, right? So with that said, that's already one challenge coming back from when I was a kid in school. Like, here we go. The reason I had so many, I don't even say so many problems. I did okay in school, but the reason why I struggled with liking school is because it bored me out my mind for who I am. See, this is the point. Some things are made conducive for certain people, and some things are not. So some people may be in a situation that is perfect for who they are, and then some people are in situations that's not good for who they are, and the way that they learn, and things like that, right? So it's some kids who can sit in the classroom and be talked at, or can just watch a video and learn everything that they need to learn, stay attentive, and whatever, and that is the best way for them to learn, and they are able to be successful following that format, doing it that way, okay? And then some kids may learn differently, okay? So that was the first challenge. Like, okay, I'm bored out of my mind, boredom. So I gotta try to fight this boredom, stay focused, okay? Because the way that my mind works is, I've always been really good, or I come to realize how good I've always been, but it made me appear confused when I was younger, because I would always wonder, why did we always have to do so many in life in general? You always had so much stuff thrown at you that was irrelevant. You know what I mean? Then you'll ask yourself, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? And then you just thinking that well, that's just the way it is. Maybe it's something wrong with me. But a lot of times, most of you guys who are actually brilliant and you just have the ability to realize how much irrelevant, unnecessary stuff that we do and have to put up with in life, okay? And some of you just always kind of, whether it was subconscious or whether it became conscious, is like, why is this necessary? Okay? And a lot of that has to do with some of you guys who are very gifted in a certain type of way. I don't want to make this video. My video is always spiritual, but I don't want to get too much into this video. But like I said, some of you, in a lot of ways, this whole system has been constructed to keep some of you from ever, like I said, realizing yourself and being the best version of yourself that you could be. So some things, a lot of stuff has been thrown into this life just to kind of throw you off, okay, and to keep you from being yourself. Prime example, we was doing a couple word problems, and I noticed that they had put certain stuff in the word problem that was completely irrelevant to the word problem, but it was just meant to, it had nothing to do with the answer at all. And there was no point of it being in the word problem. You know what I mean? And even the teacher had pointed this out once we went over it, okay? But it was no point of it was just meant, it was literally, they literally put it in there just to throw you off and to keep you from being focused on what they were actually asking and what the answer was. It was to make you confused and think like, and you thinking like, cause you thinking everything in the word problem has to be relevant. And you know what I mean? And so that's what they did. So it's the same thing in life. You thinking, well, if we got to do this and we got to do this and we doing this and we doing that, then it must all be relevant. But in my mind, I don't see why this is really necessary. And then when you start asking those questions, you know what I mean? You may never really get an answer. And they don't want, that's the key. That's how they can identify you too, the type of questions you ask, okay? But so we're going over the safety, so I'm already having to try to stay focused in that way. And then we start doing math, right? Now I know reading a ruler is necessary. And so the way that I learn, the way that I think, and the way that I am, I'm like, okay, I want to get to working on electrical stuff, and then I know how to read a ruler as far as if you tell me measure off 7 inches, 7.5 inches or something like that. You know what I mean? And then do your cut or whatever. What I'm not good at and what I don't have the patience for, and what especially once I realize it's not relevant or necessary, is I wasn't interested in going back to middle school and having to work out fractions and things like that, you know, on a board, or just going through all these unnecessary steps. Like, I don't care about the steps of how to do fractions and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I understand that knowing how to read a ruler and measurements are necessary, but not me having to go through, you know what I'm saying, like fractions and showing your work and doing your steps and all that stuff. And when I seen that kind of already, I was like, you know what I mean? But I was like, I'm a give it a chance, because I know that this is one of those things that's thrown in there just to kind of, you know, like what I was explaining previously. You know what I mean? Because I know that this is not going to be necessary. You know what I mean? Like, we're going through all this when at the end result, it's just to, do you know how to read off a ruler? You see what I mean? Not work out fractions and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So really part of the test was possibly, or if you want to look at it this way, was, all right, get through all that, and then when we get to work, at the end of the day, all you really going to be doing is reading a ruler and doing your measurements with a tape, you know, a measuring tape and things like that. You know what I mean? But this is part of the test of you bringing back up maybe past, you know what I mean, issues and traumas with not being good in math and stuff like that in school. And then the reason why is because being bored, not seeing the necessity in it. Okay, therefore not giving it time to study and learn the different steps from the, you know what I mean, and things like that, to work out the problems and all that stuff, because I didn't see why. See, you got to think, when you are learning steps in math and things like that, you have to think somebody created those steps. It's like, why do we do it this way? Who said that we had to do it this way? You see what I'm saying? That's what a lot of you deal with in life. You like, why are we doing it this way? Who said we had to do it this way? You see what I'm saying? And then you question everything. You question everything. But I forgot what they call it. You know what I mean? It's not coming to me right now what they call it. Like, you know, you just question everything. Some people are just, they plug right in real fast and easy. And then some people question everything. They're more like thinkers, and you question everything. You think about everything, and you think about why. You ask the question. You know what I mean? And like I said, that's how they can identify you a lot of times. So that was already a big thing. Like I was like, and I knew I wasn't gonna take the time. Like I knew I wasn't gonna take the time to learning. We have to try to relearn with already what I wasn't good at by choice in school anyway. And then 20-some years later, I wasn't gonna go through learning all that stuff over again and doing all that when I knew it wasn't, at the end of the day, it wasn't gonna be necessary. So I realized how I was being tested in that way, though. And a lot of it had to do with, like I said, you have to remember, let's say these forces, these energies that oppose you, not individual people necessarily, okay? These energies, these things that pop up in and out of our lives that are challenging you, okay? It was a test in the regards of me not going through those steps, and my anxiety, then, being put on the spot. Like I don't like being put on the spot, especially when it comes to things that I'm not good at or I'm not interested in. Like I don't know, like, you know what I mean? I don't care. Like don't ask me. And you know how it is when you're a kid in school. You know what I mean? Like, and your teacher want to call you to the board to do a math problem, whatever. You like, I'm not, no, or whatever. Especially if you don't know how to do it, or you don't know what you're doing when it comes to that. You're not interested in it. You don't know what you're doing. You ain't been studying. You don't know how to do it. You don't care. Like, you know what I mean? But you ain't excited about feeling embarrassed or anything like that too, that you don't know how to do it. See what I mean? So all those types of things, you see what I mean, coming back up in challenges. And so I realized, I said, okay, I see that angle. I see that attack in the sense of, okay, you know what I mean? If you don't get these answers right, if you know what I mean, if you look like you're struggling with doing this, then naturally you're supposed to feel bad, right? You're not gonna feel good, especially somebody like that's quote unquote like me, right? I'm sure a lot of people would probably say that, oh, he thinks he, and I don't always want to say, I know there's people who say positive things too and look at me in a positive light, but we gotta be realistic, and we know that there's gonna always be somebody, you know what I mean, who wanna find a way to minimize you. And who don't like you, and who, whatever. So I'm sure there'll be some people who say, oh, he thinks he's intelligent, he thinks he's knowledgeable, whatever. And so, and I think those things of myself, you know what I mean? But I realize, like anybody else, everything ain't my strength. You know what I mean? And so with that said, nobody wants to feel like, you don't want to be put in a position where you don't feel like you know something, or you know what I mean, things like that. So being bombarded with those emotions, my test was to how much work have you done on yourself? How much alchemy have you done on yourself? This is a childhood trauma of being stuck in a class and you don't know, and you at a board or something, and you don't know how to do the problem or something like that, or you dealing with the anxiety of maybe people looking at you, and you know what I mean, all that type of stuff, all that stuff going on. And some of you are very empathic people. You get bombarded with stuff like that, and sometimes it can make you shut down, especially as a child. See, so I'm dealing with all those past types of things that now you at your test to see how you deal with it. So I didn't really feel it at first. At first initial engagement, like I started to feel it. You know what I mean? But then, like after recognizing it, awareness. I always tell y'all, awareness is key to breaking the spells a lot of times, or at least a big part of it. is or the breaking the manipulation is being aware of what's going on. See, when I was a child, I wasn't aware of what was going on, so this stuff really affected me. You see what I'm saying? My emotions and stuff like that, and being an empath and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so, but with this, it was just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Oh well, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I felt it a little bit, but at the same time, just like, you know what I mean? You know, I ain't bring it home with me. You know what I mean? And things like that. I just moved on to the next day. You know what I mean? I did what I do when I come home, which is more of my niche. You see what I'm saying? Got into my spiritual work, and you know what I mean, and more you know, listening to and learning philosophical things and thinking and putting stuff together, things that I learned and putting it all together to be able to do a video like this, working through the psyche of evaluating situations and working through the psyches and the perceptions of them and things like that, so I can bring it forth to you guys so you can understand yourselves better too. And so I realized, though, I said, and you know, and like, to go back to, we have to understand that we have to know how to walk away from stuff and not be left to feel guilty about it, because we have been indoctrinated, you know what I mean, in a world that wants you to stick everything out, that no matter what it is, it wants you to stick it, that you have been told to just stick everything out and suffer through everything and things like that. And that's part of getting you out of here too, and recycling you and all that type of stuff. But like I said, there is times though that if it's a part of your journey and you're learning, but it's still, you still on your path, that even the things that you are meant to do can be challenging, and you shouldn't quit those, because you still do have to learn some resilience. You see what I mean? And you still, that is part of the Most High's tests and things like that, or him grooming us, and you know what I mean, preparing us and elevating us and all those types of things. Is you do have to have some form of a challenge. You know what I mean? I ain't saying just walk away from everything because it's not easy. You see what I'm saying? But it has to be something along your path, and it has to be necessary, and it has to be relevant. You know what I'm saying? You got to know when they trying to throw something in there that, you know what I mean, to bring you back around to the same old, you know what I mean? So, so there's even been times, I'll give you an example. There's been times along this spiritual journey, and I know that this type of stuff is along the lines of my one of my purposes, okay? But there's been time I've been discouraged with stuff like this. You know what I mean? It's been times, trust me, there's been times where I've been discouraged with stuff like this. But the reason I get through it, and the reason why I keep doing this and have a passion for it and things like this, is because it is along my path. But it doesn't mean that even with stuff like this, that comes more easier and more natural and more who I am. You know what I mean? It still doesn't mean that I haven't had challenges with it, and that, you know, that I won't have challenges with it. You know what I mean? In order for me to be the best version of myself that I can be, in regards to doing stuff like this, helping other people out with ways of thought and perception. You know what I mean? And influencing people's minds in ways to, you know, get, you know, bring us around to where we are supposed to be. All right. So that's how I felt like I passed the test. You see what I mean? And then because at the end of the day, I got discouraged. See, this is the great point. See, I got discouraged with all this, with like the whole spiritual thing. So I was like, let me go back into the world. You know what I mean? Let me be, see how they got, you know what I mean? That's the manipulation. Like, let me go back into the world I mean, I'm in the world regardless, you know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, let me just go be a normal guy. You know what I mean? Let me just learn a trade or something and, you know, maybe I'll do that. Like, you know what I mean? Type of thing, you know. But no, and really I knew that wasn't, like, I knew I wasn't going to deviate from, you know what I mean, completely from the type of path that I'm on with stuff like this. It was more so just merging, and I'm gonna keep doing it, and I'm gonna keep on merging, trying to merge, because you know, even though the world is changing, it has changed a lot. You don't know how fast the complete shift is going to be, and you still want to kind of learn what was relevant in the old world, or what's relevant in the old world, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? And still, you just want to challenge yourself. You want to challenge yourself, but you want to do it the right way. And so, like I said, I realized the manipulation in it was, it's like, okay, I'm coming here to learn electrician work, but you got me doing something that I'm completely not interested in. And how about and so the thing is, I wanted to do it a certain way. I wanted to learn it a certain way, based on my strengths and how I learn. This is going to raise a great point in the world that we live in the situation that we find ourselves in as a society and as a world and as a country. I know y'all like, will you just stop messing with that that little dread? But we find ourselves in a situation where things have been changing, things have been merging, right? And you got some people, right, that is good with that change and who are likely to thrive with those changes, okay? And who the way that things are changing is going to be made more conducive for them, okay? And then you have people who they saying, this is how we do things. You know what I mean? And the way that things have been for a long time was more conducive for them. So, with that said, that takes us back to what I was saying right before that, is it's a certain way that I learn, that I can learn, that makes learning interesting for me, and it keeps me engaged and stuff like that. But yet, it might not be the way that the program that I was in, because I don't want to make it about the instructor. The instructor was a great guy. Let me mention that. But it may not be the way that the program is set up to teach. So the way that the program is set up to teach, it may be conducive to, like I said, the next guy over here or the next girl over here. But for me, if I'm gonna learn this is how it got to be done. How it kind of has to be done. So you know what I mean? Yeah, and and we would have got. And see, this is the point. If I would have stuck it out, right, we would have got to a point where we would have started doing things, right, and it would have been evident that, look, all that stuff we was doing on the board and going through all the steps of, you know what I mean, of doing fractions and all that was completely necessary. Just, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's just about pulling this tape measure out, and you know what I mean? I need 7.5, like I said, 7.5 inches of wire or something like that. You see what I mean? And then you cut it off or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And then all the other stuff that's required. But you know what I mean? As far as the step, you have to know fractions. You have to know like if I need a half or a quarter and stuff like that. But it's ways that you can learn and deal and still do what's necessary without you necessarily having to know how to go through or work out. You see what I mean? All the steps and stuff like that on the board and stuff like that. It's two different things. You know what I mean? Like, so I realized that, but I felt like I had learned my lesson. I felt like, not learned my lesson, but because I know, like I said, I identified everything. I knew all these things, but I felt like I passed the test. The test was the emotional aspect, the emotion. See, some of you, for the ones who my videos make a lot of sense to you and things like that, and you agree with a lot of what I'm saying, or and you like what I'm saying, and you know you resonate with what I'm saying, our biggest strength is our spiritual ability. With being spiritual, a lot of you guys know that you're very sensitive people, empathic people, emotional people. It don't mean you emotional like every little thing, and you're emotional like emotionally immature and things like that. It means that you are very spiritual. You feel a lot, and you realize how your emotions have to be guarded, and you realize how for a long time, because they know how spiritual you are and they know your spiritual power, your emotions have to be manipulated. You know what I mean? So things have to be done to try to make you feel a certain way, because what you think dictates a lot of times how you feel. And then some of you have great manifestation abilities that others don't. So a reason why you are a target is because, and you have to be manipulated mentally, is to try to stimulate certain emotions in order for you to help manifest whatever the manipulator wants you to manifest. Make sense? All right. So with that said, it is very important that you guys master these perceptions so you can perceive things differently, so you can have different thoughts about it and think differently about it, so things won't necessarily manipulate your emotions in ways that are not favorable for you to manifest what's best for you. You know what I mean? So, all right. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just leave it there. And so, hopefully, I know this was a really good video, guys. I mean, I said I'm going to stop doing that. Hopefully, you find this to be a very good video. And hopefully, this helps a lot of you guys out. All right, peace.